What in the hell's diversity?
Well, I could be wrong, but I believe diversity is an old wooden ship that was used during the Civil War era.
I want to welcome everyone to the Kayak Fishing... Oh, I was almost Kayak Fishing Raw.
You better watch yourself, sir.
Whoops. Actually, the RAW H2O Podcast. We still got to get used to that.
Yeah,
so,
changes are tough.
Yeah, so Eric and I today were kind of scrambling, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So sometimes when you get guests, you know, they'll call you right away and be like, hey, you know, I could do the show right now.
This is my slot. Let's make it happen.
Yeah, exactly. So we're making it happen. That's what we do for you guys. We love you guys. Eric?
Sir, buenos dias.
You look nice today.
Thank you. I got my hair did.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how's your soul patch going?
It's doing all right.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not... I probably could use a trim. Just a little snip.
You know what? I forgot to hit the audio record here, so we're gonna...
Oh, shocking.
If I can pull this down.
Escape, sir.
Yeah, here we go. So we're super excited because we actually have an awesome guest calling in today.
Yeah.
We have the Summer Slam champion, part one. Justin Ritchey calling in. And it was great with him because, let me get this back up. Oh, yeah.
There we go.
There's the nice logo. So it was great watching him this year. He was
First timer.
First time
Again.
angler. Again. So, you know.
That gets me pumped up.
I think all of 2019 was pretty much first-time guys fishing the tournament,
First-time guys, and then Nelly, always.
And then, yeah, I mean, you're gonna have your guys on stage like Nelly and Rob
every tournament,
right? But I mean, to see these new guys come on and I mean, really kick some butt. Justin came in, very first tournament, Summer Slam won, caught a monster blackfin tuna.
What'd that weigh in at? Do you remember?
His total weight was like 40, 42, 43 pounds.
Total?
Okay. I think the tuna itself was probably in the 20s.
Because he won the tuna division off that.
He won the tuna division, and then I believe he had like a small king to just kind of wash it down, which is what you need.
Yeah.
And to see him kind of roll in and out of nowhere, you know, get on stage, and you got people going like, "Who is this guy?"
Right.
And really good guy too. I mean, he was. I think he should be calling in any minute. See, this is the problem with this logo thing. I got to use my my thingy-majigger, my program. But yeah, okay, he's not calling in yet. But we'll just leave this up for now.
Yeah, that's fine.
And you know, to see the Summer Slam champion altogether, Sean Rolls.
Yeah.
Okay, then you see, and that was his first
time. I had a couple
time.
beers with him Sunday.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, we went to the
He's a good guy.
26 Degrees Brewery over here.
Nice.
Yeah, it was a good time. They had a Jamaican food truck out there whipping up some jerk pork and chicken. It was fantastic.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right. And then we had Mark Peterson. He won part two, and he's fished our tournaments for years, but it was cool seeing him. I mean, first time getting on stage. I mean, this guy's been working his tail off, just really. I mean, kudos to all these guys to get on stage, to win the money, and we got Justin calling in right now. So
Is he now?
Yeah.
Look at there.
Hello.
There you are.
Justin, you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
Fantastic.
Man, what's going on?
How's it going, brother? That was we were
weird.
getting a little nervous there for a second.
I was pretending like I knew how to use the
you know,
software.
Jupiter was passing Mars. It got a little weird.
Yeah. So, listen, man, I know you got a short amount of time. We did a quick intro for you, but hey, we appreciate you calling in, and let's just dive right into this. What was your experience in the Summer Slam 1 being a first-time winner and angler of the tournament series? And tell us all about it, and also about the future and what you're looking for 2020.
So, I'd say over the past 10 years of doing tournaments, you know, I've been able to travel and do a lot of crazy things. I fished in Amsterdam. I fished all over Florida. the Carolinas, all out of a kayak, inshore, offshore. I've done offshore fishing just for fun for the past few years and spent a lot of time going for blackfin tuna.
Right.
I didn't have any expectations for this extreme tournament other than to just go out, give it my best, and go for tuna. I had no clue that the day was going to happen the way that it did. Pre-fishing the day before was nilch. We were begging for a bite. Tuna king, it didn't matter. Conditions were beautiful, for the day before and the day of. But I guess what I was just thinking going into it is kind of how I approached every tournament on the inshore side, and that is the idea that, when I go fish, if I want to be successful, I think that success is preparation plus luck. And since only preparation is within my control, I'm going to over-obsess about it. I'm going to tie more stinger rigs than I need, make sure my knots are perfect, that I use the right leader, I got the right color jigs. I just over-obsessed about it so that, when you gave that countdown and we all took off, I was in game mode. Like, I blacked out until I got to the first area and got, 2 kingfish within pretty quick order. I think I had 2 kings in the boat within an hour of fishing.
Yeah, so, see, that's great.
They were hot that day.
Yeah, and you were gunning for tuna, right?
Yeah, that's what I love to do, man. I live in Orlando, and from April through May, June, July, pretty much the whole summer season, I am coming down with one goal, and that's tuna.
Right.
A couple friends, guys from Orlando like Ed Ratnam from way back when, and then Bobby Buzaki, who's going to school in Orlando. They taught me a ton on how to tuna fish down there, and I fell in love with it. I mean, that was just what I wanted to do. I said, if I could go out and get a big tuna today and nothing else, that's a win for me. So actually winning the whole thing was that's a huge plus. I did not expect that.
What's interesting is that, you were talking about Bobby. For people that don't know, Bobby's been fishing our tournaments for forever, since he was a little kid.
He was one of the first guys I met in the Bahamas.
Right. So,
Awesome
he's definitely a veteran of the series. But what's interesting about what you said was gunning for tuna. That's actually what Bobby did as well. And Bobby ended up catching a monster tuna that I say might have been a record. I don't know if you've seen the pictures of this thing.
I saw him walk by with it.
It was a monster.
It was pushing 30, man. It was
definitely
30.
I would say that fish was 30 pounds, and it got sharked, unfortunately, so the fish didn't count. But I just thought that was interesting that you both went out. You had a, you wanted to go out there, catch the tuna fish. You accomplished that plan, both of you.
That's important.
Okay, you got your tuna. Unfortunately, he got sharked, and then you end up winning the thing and executing the plan that you put forth. That's
awesome. So let me ask you, Justin, was he feeding the shark while you were reeling in your tuna?
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Let's just say everybody on the water that day heard the cry of Bobby Buzaki.
Yeah.
It was like the shot heard around the world, man.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
He was heartbroken.
Yeah.
I mean, that guy lives for tuna the way we do, and, he had a different technique, different approach to fishing that day. And, given the variables of where he was, the sharks were definitely part of that. And it just didn't pan out. But, but that's what happens, man. I mean, this time of the year, you're either, you're finding your big tuna, you're probably going to be near sharks. It could have happened to anybody.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Sure. And, you getting on stage, right, and winning this thing, what was that feeling like? Like coming back to the beach, I don't know if you knew where you were kind of at in the standings. A lot of people talk, so I'm sure you're hearing something.
Fish are bigger when they're caught on the water.
Of course.
Once they hit land, they shrink a little bit.
Of course.
Yeah.
So what was it like when you got to shore and, you brought the fish to the scale?
So that hype and that butterflies in the stomach, to be completely honest, it didn't really hit me at first. I knew that I had good fish, but I didn't really have a good scope of whether I was, in the top 5 or, top 3. I mean, people were saying a lot of things, but, it's tradition to just give people a lot of crap during tournaments and hype everybody up and give falsified information until the actual numbers are drawn.
Of course.
So I just kind of let it go in one ear and out the other, and I said, hey, if I got great fish, I got great fish. If not, whatever. I got a solid tuna. And what's funny is I actually had plans for keeping that tuna. I didn't know what the weigh-in process looked like because this was my first extreme tournament.
Sure.
And I caught the tuna and I bled it, and I kept it on 2 bags of ice. I was like, all right, sweet, I'll weigh it in, put it in the cooler. I got tuna for the night. And, I came in, I get on the beach, and everyone's like, Justin, let me see that tuna. And I hold it up, and they go, oh, man, wait a second, did you bleed it?
Ooh.
And I said, yeah, I bled it. And everybody on the beach was like, oh, my gosh, what are you doing?
Oh, my
I said,
God.
Well, I said, well, the tournament rules said that they need to be in edible condition when you bring them into weigh-in. I said, who in the world's not going to bleed a tuna? And everybody's just face palming, like, oh my God. And people are like, they're like, dude, if you lose this tournament by 1.5 pounds, I'm gonna have no mercy on you.
You definitely took that rule to the extreme, my
yeah,
friend.
that's for sure. Doesn't need to be prepped for eating.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, I've been
That's
faulted
funny.
for less. So I'm a particular when it comes to the rules.
I could picture you landing
I got
it
up on the stage.
and eating sushi off your kayak from the fish. Like,
Yeah.
okay, sweet, edible condition. Wow. All right, so you got to the
bringing
beach.
it, it's like, well, I mean, I only ate half a pound of the tuna. It's not
Right.
that much of a difference.
Hey, you get hungry out
so
there.
I
You
got
got to
to
do
the
what you got to
beach,
do.
Yeah. But when I got up on stage, and realizing when I got first, it didn't really hit me at first. It was like, all right, cool. I mean, the hype set in as the day went on and the night went on, and then 24 hours later, 48 hours later, I'm really starting to realize the magnitude of what that meant.
Right.
In the moment, there's just so much going on. You've got crazy loud music. You've got champagne bottles exploding. You've got beautiful women on stage. I'm happily married, but my gosh, it was so much fun, man.
Yeah.
It was such a rush, that like it came and went. There were people asking questions about what did you catch it on and where were you, and we want to talk about your day in this tabloid and this article, and it was overwhelming.
Yeah.
That in the aftermath, when I had a chance to really take a look at it, I realized this is it's a once in a lifetime accomplishment. People come from all over the nation and the world sometimes to compete in this series of tournaments. So to take first place amongst some of the greatest offshore kayak fishermen in the nation is a huge honor. And I'm looking back on it now and I'm just smiling, because I didn't I'm from humble beginnings, man. I just like everybody else didn't, I'm not a seasoned, veteran of 10 years offshore kayak fishing. This is all relatively new to me. I just don't have a limit. I'll be that guy to stay out an extra hour or two, go out in rough conditions,
Right.
for a 3.5 hour drive down there when I fish. I try to make it all worth it.
Well, I would also say that you are a seasoned fisherman, though. The kayak is just the tool, right, to help you get these fish. But that's the beauty of where our tournament series has changed, where in the beginning, in the first years of doing this, we had kayakers, right, that were learning how to fish.
Right.
Now we have fishermen that are learning how to kayak.
You still have that.
Sure.
When I was at Nautical, I had to stay after a couple of days to teach guys that just bought kayaks how to tie knots.
Yeah.
I mean, they brand new to fishing.
Sure,
Wow.
sure.
So
It's a good mix.
yeah, I mean it's just a different way to get on the water. You don't have to deal with fuel and oil and all this stuff that comes along with boat ownership. You
Right.
can just throw in the water, let's go.
Right. And then you won this thing, and now, I mean, after the fact, what's your plans? I mean, for 2020 coming up, you saw the schedule coming out. We got the Sailfish Smackdown coming in January 18th and 19th. Now that's in with the Summer Slam for weight points.
Right.
What's your game plan for that? And what you got some predictions? What do you think's going to happen?
So sailfish is going to be a little bit of a crapshoot. I've never caught a sail out of the kayak.
Same.
I've caught a few boat side, just as bycatch, without ever intending to targeting sails.
Right.
So I really am not sure what I'm getting into. I have a rough game plan in mind of what I want to do in terms of rigging and trying to get a competitive edge with some of my gear. Because if any of you guys know me, I'm a gear nut. I'm very, very particular about, matching the right reel, the right rod, the perfect, type of braid, the right amount of Top Shot monofilament, my stinger rigs.
That goes back to what you were saying about preparation. I mean, that's key, especially offshore kayak fishing.
Exactly. And I know that sailfish is very much right place, right time. But I think that there's going to be a huge factor in staying connected to your fish. We're not going to be running wire stingers out there. It's not going to be as easy of a hookup with some of these fish. So I think a key is going to be a matter of making sure you stay connected to your fish. And having faulty equipment is going to be a game changer for people out there on the water if they're not prepared for the event.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely going to be making sure my knots are snelled perfectly. I've got the right size hook matched to the right size bait. And I'm going to be covering a lot of water, man. As much water as I can cover that day until my legs fall off and I'm paddling back in, and keep my baits alive, as frisky as I can up on top.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it, man. I think that it's going to be it's going to be an exploration kind of day. He who covers the most amount of water is probably going to have the best chance of getting multiple fish hookups.
Yeah, I think the key to that tournament, I think we've learned this through the years, is two things, and you've touched on both of them. One is your gear, your connections, okay? I think every tournament we lose at least 5 to 7 to 8 sailfish, which is frustrating enough. Oh, yeah. And that's frustrating for the angler, not just me.
Oh, yeah.
Because you hear them on the radio. Hooked up. Yeah. Oh, crap. It jumped. It came off. I mean, we hear that so many times.
There's something special about catching a billfish from a kayak.
Of course, But the second most important thing of that tournament is depth. So guys like Austin Collins, and he was a winner of that tournament, and guys like Benny Sosa, he has a record.
Yeah, I mean, killed it
with four landed sailfish. He would have had 5. One of them jumped it, so he had a record 4 sailfish to win it. It's insane. Yeah. But guess what these guys did? They found a depth and stayed in that depth. Yeah. And it's a 2-day tournament. They went back to that depth and stayed on that line and just kept putting out baits, putting a gog halfway down, putting a gog a quarter down, testing where you're going to put them, how you're going to put them out, letting out a shotgun, playing with your baits, making sure, you reel them in every, 10 to 15 to 20 minutes to see that your baits aren't tangled or that they're, not skipping under the water, or, you got to make sure your baits are swimming perfectly for that tournament. Because I'll tell you another thing about sailfish. They'll, and this is proven on camera, they'll see baits, right? And if they see one bait that's not swimming right or that's kind of off, usually they go around it and they just keep attacking the healthier baits. Yeah, I mean, well, they're like, it's like a cat with like a light, right? Sure. It gets them all fired up, when they start running. They just want to catch it. And no matter, even if they're not hungry, they just want to get it,
It's a game.
And I just think that's what's really important about fishing this tournament. And I can't say it enough. You guys have to have good knots. We should have a show maybe just talking about knots and the different kind of knots and how it'll help you catch these sailfish. Because, you got to come tight and you got to stay tight. I see it all the time. These guys hook up on the water, and especially the out-of-state guys, and then usually it's a choppier tournament, right?
Right, yeah, absolutely.
So they're riding up and down in the water on their kayak, and what happens is when they're riding down, their line's going slack a little bit, and that's how the fish comes off. You got to keep it tight the whole time and keep it in front of you. So I mean, that's the stuff that I've noticed through the years watching it on the boats, being a judge on the water. So yeah, I mean, a little tip for you guys. Find your depth and stay in that depth and work that depth. If you get a sailfish, you better mark it instantly where you hooked up that sailfish, not where you landed it or where you're fighting it. Right when you hook up, you got to have the calmness to mark it and say, okay, I'm in this depth. I'm fighting a fish right now. He's on. I'm going to keep it tight. I'm going to land her. okay, but I'm going to stay calm because he's got a lot of people flip out too.
Well, especially right at the beginning when they're going crazy on top of the water.
Of course, you're going to flip out,
it's
right?
easy to get, especially on a kayak. Things get hectic real quick.
Sure. They're trying to get the
you got
radio,
multiple
they're
lines
fumbling.
out,
Yeah,
and it's
of
just
course.
going around everything.
Right, yeah.
That's the beauty of it.
It's a
That's why I
Chinese
love
fire
it.
drill.
That's why I love it, because things get crazy real quick.
Yeah, yeah. And again, with that tournament, that's new winners every year too.
Yeah.
I mean, every year it's a new winner. You know, you never know. Guys from Oklahoma, guys from Texas, guys from, even guys from South Africa fished it. I mean, it's you just never know what's going to happen.
Nope.
So yeah, Justin, we're really excited to have you part of the series. It was great having you join in this year, and you're also a part of Star Rod, right? One of our new sponsors.
Yeah, I'm with Star Rods, and we're really, really honored to be able to support this event. It's a line of rods that I've personally used in my professional endeavors for the past 5 or 6 years, and I've been fishing with Star recreationally for over 10. And now that I have a chance to get my hands on all the different products and see how perfect a lot of series we have are for, the types of fishing that we do offshore out of Pompano and Dania and Boynton and everywhere.
Sure.
Coming into sailfish season, everyone's going to want a little bit different technique, kind of what you were talking about. Do you want to have a shotgun bait out way, way back behind your kayak? Do you want to have a bait down on a downrigger or with a 3 or 4 ounce weight, just 40, 50 feet down for that deeper bite? Do you want to have a soft tipped rod? Do you want to have a shorter rod? There's over 200 SKUs with Star to get the right rod so that you have the right tool for the job. It's not always, you might not need a 5/16 wrench. You might need an 8 millimeter. You need what you need, especially when it comes to, a check that size on the line and that type of glory. You want to make sure you have all your bases covered.
Right.
And
That's
so
a
I'm
good
really
point.
happy to always be present, to talk product and show people things that they might have never even seen before, and say, "Oh my God, that's perfect. I need to have that in my lineup to get ready for the tournaments." And we're really happy to be a part of it, man. There's a lot of things we can talk about and go down the rabbit hole, but when we get closer to that captain's meeting, if anybody, needs anything beforehand, I'll have all different types of product on hand to make sure you get your last minute grab to get geared up.
Awesome. And what, out of those Star Rods, I think you mentioned there were some new ones that you guys are coming out with. Can you talk about any of those maybe that might be effective for the Sailfish Smackdown?
For the Sailfish Smackdown, you've got 2 options that I think are good things to consider. One is the series of sequence rods, which came out in about ICAST. I think that's probably the time everybody started seeing a few of them in shops here and there.
Gotcha.
The sequence series of rods probably about $150 retail. We have a 7'2" conventional setup, conventional rod that's a 15 to 30 pound, very lightweight. It's got some ergonomic grips to it, and it's got a nice light tip. So it's a great just do everything flatline rod for conventional. There's a great spinning option too. That's a 7'2", 15 to 40 pound. It's got just the right amount of backbone, but it's got a really soft tip. So it's great for sails, great for kingfish. And that's a good price point rod with some nice features. It's got tangle-free Fuji K guides on it, which is on the higher end series of rods.
Nice.
So we're bringing it down to a more moderate price point. But for those of you guys that are really looking for something different, that it's definitely something I'm going to be having on the water during the day of the tournament. It's a handcrafted rod. It's about $100, and this is considered, it's called the KFHC, or the Kingfish Handcrafted, but it's actually a great crossover rod for sails. This one that I'm using is actually a 7'6", and most guys might not think about using a rod over 7 foot for sails, but there's a lot of advantages to that. Shotgunning a bait way out in the back, getting that rod tip over the front of your kayak when that sail swims underneath your kayak.
Yeah.
Get some good premium features on the reel seat. I mean, it was a custom rod made about 2 years ago that we added to the lineup for the tournament Kingfish guys, but it's a great crossover for sails. So I'll make sure we have a couple of those for people to see. Those are kind of hard rods to come by, but it might mean the difference between getting that hookup on a shy fish.
Sure.
It's way back
Absolutely.
behind you. They might not want to get up close.
Yeah. No, I can't wait to see them, man. And they're more stiff than medium heavy, right? Because I always like the stiffer ones for tournaments. Get the fish in. Not playing around. They're like, what are they?
The balance will be you have the right amount of backbone. They're both stiff series of rods.
Okay,
both
cool.
The Sequence and that handcrafted rod I'm talking about. The difference is you're going to have a light tip, but it's not going to be too light of a tip. You're not going to be noodling your fish. You're going to be, getting that umph to get them in next to the boat quickly, but not too stiff to where you jump them off when they're shaking.
Gotcha.
So it is a little bit of a balance.
Okay. Well, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's all about balance.
That's what they say, sir.
Yeah,
that's what they say.
All right, Justin. Listen, man. I know you got a seminar coming up, and you got to go here. But I just want to say, man, it's always a pleasure to have you on this show, and to talk about, basically extreme kayak fishing and how you fished it and how you won and just being a part of it, man. I just, I appreciate everything you do.
Yeah, thanks a ton for coming on, Justin.
Hey, I love doing it, guys. I appreciate you having me on board, and we'll catch up soon. I'll get down there. We'll get some fishing done. All right?
Yeah, and we got to get you in the studio, man.
Yeah, dude.
Let us know when you're coming to town.
For something closer to the holidays, I'm ready.
All right, cool, man. And I gave Justin a little secret, peacock spot.
Uh-oh.
And how good did you do with that spot, Justin?
Oh, zilch. Nothing.
Man.
Nada. I couldn't.
See,
he didn't believe me.
Put a
I'm like,
bite down on
what?
the bite, man.
What?
So I showed Sean Rolls where to go.
Yeah,
I don't know
you
if y'all saw his pictures yesterday.
No.
He got
Our spot?
he got a large. No.
Oh.
On Ida, where the tournament is.
Ida. Okay.
He got a clown knife. He got a largemouth. He got a sunshine, and he got a peacock.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right, let's not rub it in. Let's not rub it in. Sean's still
Hey, I'll provide you with the
Sean,
same
you're number
information
one.
if you want to fish Ida sometime.
Yeah. Well, listen, we got to go out.
Let's see what happens in April. Let's see what happens
Okay.
at the exotic roundup. Who knows? Sean may knock it out of the park. Sean may choke.
Yeah.
Listen, if you hear me out, Sean, I love you, but I'm coming for you, dude.
Uh-oh. Call
I'm
out.
coming for you. I'm just saying.
Letting them know.
I love it.
Yeah.
Sweet competition, man.
I got to
Yeah.
roll, guys.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Hey, anytime. Thank you all. I'll talk to you later.
All right.
All
See
right,
you, brother.
Take care, Justin.
Take care. Bye.
Awesome, man.
Yeah. What a fun guy.
No, he's a really good guy. I'm
I'm
gonna
check out that Star Rod.
Yeah. No, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
He said $100.
Yeah, that's and I love the point he touched on with the little bit longer rod. I actually use 8-foot rods on the kayak, and for that specific reason, I can reach around the bow.
Sure.
I can reach over my other rods.
Right.
And I can dip it deep if they go under, so it clears the pedal drive and everything.
Yeah.
So that's a little tip that maybe not everyone knows about fishing a kayak. If that fish dives into your kayak, dip your rod in that water as far as you can.
Right.
That way it'll clear everything underneath you.
The Mirage Drive drives me crazy when that happens, man.
I've seen fins cut off. I've seen when my buddy and I drove down here, Richard Gary, to fish one of your Summer Slams.
Right.
I don't remember if it was a pre-fishing day. Yeah, it was pre-fishing. He had a monster wahoo on.
Oh God.
And man, it made that one last dive right through his freaking Mirage Drive, cut it off. Man, yeah, that was a rough one. All I saw was half the tail sticking above the water, and it was huge.
It was huge.
It was massive.
I had Fred literally jump into the water because he's not catching fish anyway.
Yeah.
When I had my bull mahi, the monster one,
yeah.
I said, Fred, fucking jump in the water and fucking get them right. Like, I don't know what you need to do, but do it.
It was wrapped up?
It was wrapped. And it didn't, and I was
just
using
stayed.
braid, thank God, because the braid was kind of just tangling. It wasn't
Sure.
popping yet.
Yeah.
And then Fred literally dived off his kayak. He had goggles with him and got it off. And I ended up still fighting the fish, and I ended up landing him.
Those are the best ones.
Yeah, if I didn't have Fred with me though, I would have lost it.
I took a newbie out with me, and he hooked up to his first king,
Right.
and 3/4 of the way through the fight, I just see his rod go, zit! And I was like, "Oh, you lost it, man. You lost it." And like I look, and then I noticed he has one of those Sieglers, the SGs,
Yeah.
that's got the lever on it, the lever drag.
Right.
He had knocked it back, and this was a new guy to fishing that didn't realize what exactly that controls.
Well, now he knows.
Well, he pushed it forward.
Caught
the king.
Really?
Yeah. That was why his line went limp. He accidentally knocked the lever all the way down. And free spool. Yeah. But we got it in, and he ended up getting line wrapped in his rudder, so I had to jump in the friggin' water and clear that up.
You know how many times that happens? And
that was on one of Freddie's kayaks, actually.
Oh, really? No, it's always Fred.
Yeah, right? It was on a stealth, yeah. The guy's a hardcore paddler, so he wanted to try one out.
I'll tell you what, like, and the thing is, too, like, with the Mirage drives, they're great. It's not a knock.
No,
it's just,
that's what I use. I love them.
Right. It's just, it always ends up happening where if they get tangled around that drive, I mean, if you don't have somebody with you, you're in trouble.
Yeah, sure. So a lot of people don't realize this. There's a little bungee right in front of your seat with a hook on it. That's so you can pull one of the legs of the drive back and hook it, and now the fins are up against the hull of the kayak.
Right. They redesigned all that, right?
Yeah, so, that's been around for a little while. But that's one solution. And so now your fins are up, out of the way.
Right.
There's still a slight chance of it getting wrapped, but definitely not as big. Or pop the fins out while you're fighting the fish. A lot of people do that.
I've done that before as well.
Or I'll just push forward with one leg so it keeps them propped up.
Sure.
Yeah, there's ways around it. You just you have to have that wherewithal to know to do that at that time. Like you were saying, hit track when you hook up to that sailfish.
Oh my God, yeah, that's so important.
It's all these little things that you have to do on a kayak just to better your chances.
Sure.
And that's I think why a lot of people are getting into it and love it, especially the offshore where things get crazy.
Well, and that's another thing is being calm.
Yeah, keeping your cool
is so important.
And that comes with, again, like Justin said, preparation.
Right.
And it comes with experience.
Experience is key. I think listening, Derek should be calling here any minute.
Nice.
Listening to shows like this.
Yeah.
Gaining knowledge on where you're fishing.
And that's the best place to do it is at tournaments because you have a cluster of all the best guys.
Sure.
90% of these guys are friendly enough.
Right.
To share with you a few tips here and there.
Right.
They're not going to tell you what grid coordinates to go to or what depth to fish in, especially on tournament day. But they're nice enough to tell you, hey, you probably shouldn't be using that knot for this situation. You probably want to, instead of using 40-pound fluoro, you might want to drop it to 20 for sailfish, get a little better presentation.
Sure.
But, and that's, like I said, comes with the experience of fishing the tournaments. You got to just go in and do it. And that's probably the best time for a newbie to go offshore because there's a lot of support around.
Exactly.
As long as they keep it in their head to try to stay clear.
All right, guys. Well, we're going to end this show here, and then we're going to talk to Derek on the next half. I love you. And
sorry about that, folks. Had an important phone call.
So let's end this now. And
or do we just want to end this with him calling?